Hi, welcome back. Before we begin with charges and payments, let's look at day sheets and printing charge slips. The day sheet is extremely important because it affects how the billing office can process patient charges. To begin, we'll go under our miscellaneous drop-down menu and go to our day sheet date select. Now, not everybody's going to have security permission to create new ones, but I want to quickly review this process. If you need a day sheet that does not exist in your listing, you click the word New, select the date on the calendar that you need. In this case, it's going to be for today, and hit your Accept button. That creates the new day sheet and attaches you to that day sheet. If you want to go back in time, and usually this is only an administrative or administrative or biller's need, I would go back, hit my 1123 and say accept, and that would attach me to the 1123 day sheet. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this time, and I just want to quickly open charges and payments and show you my day sheet date is showing 1128 and it's in black. That's because today is 1128. However, if I go and I select an old day, like yesterday, and hit accept, and I open my charges and payments, you're going to notice that that day sheet date is going to be flashing in red. That's going to indicate to you that this is not the current day. And that's fine. It's just bringing your attention to that in case it's a mistake. So what do users need to know about day sheets? Well, every user, front desk, nursing, everybody needs to understand they should always be connected to the current day. If it's 1128, you want to be on the 1128 day sheet. This happens automatically when you log into MicroMD, provided someone has opened that day sheet prior to a user logging in. For example, if there was no 1128 day sheet opened, and I just logged on the system, let's just go ahead and delete that one. Even though it's 1128, if I log on the system is going to connect me to the most current day sheet, and that would be 1127. Let's go ahead and stay on 1128. How do these day sheets get opened? Well, when preparing for charts the day before or a couple days before, the person printing out the charge slips for that date of service would be prompted to create a new day sheet, and that's how the day sheets become open. Additionally, if you're not using printed charge slips, an administrator or some other personnel could go in every day and create a new day sheet for the following day. You always have the ability to go into miscellaneous and day sheet date select and make sure that you're connected to the right one and hit accept. You would highlight the date over here on the left hand side, not on the calendar, and hit your accept button. That's really all you need to know as far as general users about day sheets. We'll get into more detail on day sheets when we do daily closes. For now, let's go into our charge slips. Now, I could have an icon down here in the bottom left corner, or I can access my charge slips from my billing drop-down menu in charge slip, or use my F8 shortcut. We already know how to print a charge slip from our schedule by right-clicking the patient's name on the schedule, or from our check-in, check-out by right-clicking on the patient's name in check-in, check-out. We can also print an individual charge slip by coming in here and typing in our patient name, or typing in our patient account number, and that would allow us to print. If I make a mistake and I really didn't want Charlotte, I would just double click and Charlotte's going to fall off my list. To print this charge slip, I would simply go over to the left to my action icons and hit print and hit laser, and that will commence the print, and you'll notice that my charge slip window will close when this process is complete. Now, in your case, it's going to be going to your paper printer. In my case, it's just coming on to my electronic printer. And let me show you an example of what that's going to look like. This is a standard charge slip in MicroMD. It has a header with demographics and all of the doctor information, including the appointment date and time. Additionally, it's going to have insurance information and all of our procedure codes and so forth at the bottom. These can also be customized in a mail merge format, changing the entire header to look like really just about anything you want it to. Let's go ahead and go back into MicroMD. So we know how to print an individual charge slip, but how do we print a batch of charge slips for a single date of service? I'm going to hit my F8 shortcut key to get into my charge slips. The icon is the green arrow. I'm going to use the auto load patient. I'm going to choose the appointment date that I want to print for. In this case, I'm printing for tomorrow. Now, keep in mind, your appointment date should always match your DaySheet date. When I key in the appointment date of 11/29 and I hit my tab key, you'll notice the system automatically changes my DaySheet date to match. The reason is, when the billing office opens this DaySheet, any charge slips that are printed that have an appointment date of 11/29 that were printed associated with that will pop up in a list, allowing them to track all patients that had encounter forms printed or charge slips printed. I can decide if I want to print all of my providers, or I might just want to print a single provider. To close out of this selection window, just click in another field. If I wanted to select maybe 2 of my doctors at the same time, I would open that up and holding my control key down, I would select the second provider, and you'll notice that it goes to selected 2 of 25. Again, to close that, just click in another field. I could set a location if that's appropriate. I can set a time range if I'm only looking for specific ones, but I recommend if you're trying to print all encounters to leave all selected. You can determine whether or not, if you schedule your patients on multiple schedules for treatments and provider appointments, whether or not you want to print an individual encounter for each process, or if you want just one encounter for all visits in the office. By unchecking this box, it will give you a single encounter or a single charge slip per patient. Leaving it checked, if the patient has a therapy appointment scheduled and a provider appointment scheduled, it would print for both of those events a single encounter. So in other words, that patient would have 2 encounters rather than just a single one following them through the office. Print a charge slip for temporary patients if you're using the temporary patient system, where you're not registering or assigning account numbers until the patients present to the clinic. You will want to go ahead and include temporary patients so that you have a sheet to record information. And finally, exclude already printed is going to allow you to exclude patients you've already printed. So a good example would be, if I want to process my 11/29 appointments, but I want to do it early in the day, I can go ahead and print everything that's scheduled, maybe at 10 a.m. And then later in the day, at 4 o'clock, I can come in and say, well, let me see if anybody's been added to the schedule. Let me just print those. So let's say we had 30 to begin with. By the end of the day, there are 38. My first batch printed off 30. When I came back in a second time, it would only print off the additional 8 patients. Once you have the screen set, you're going to click your Accept button, and your patients will display here. And once your patients are displaying, you're going to hit your print icon over to the left. Now the system's going to warn you that there is no 11/29 DaySheet because the last one open is 11/28, and it's going to ask you if you want to create a DaySheet. The answer is always yes, because we always want our DaySheet date to match our appointment date. And so I would say yes, and then just click laser for your printer, and all of your charge slips would print. Yours would go to your printer. Mine are being processed electronically for the purpose of demonstration. That concludes charge slip printing and DaySheet date selection. Thank you.